Hey everybody, Brett Mix from Macho Wrestling 101. Welcome back to the Monday Night Wars. This is week 105. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying them. I enjoy pumping them out. So here's the recap in just under 10 minutes. This week, 105 of the Wars, the ratings were for Raw, a huge 3.4 rating. And for Nitro, they scored a 4.3. WCW wins for the 67th week in a row. Nitro won by a total of 0.9 points. So now after this week's loss for Raw, the total scoreboard has 17 wins for Raw, 86 losses, and 2 draws through these 105 weeks they've gone at it. So this show, the week went live on Monday night on the USA Network and in TSN in Canada, November the 10th, 1997, from the Corral Center in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. This Raw after the Raw after Montreal, and it's the infamous Screwjob post show. We all know what that is, so I don't need to explain it. But if you don't know, Brett is out of the WWF without being champion, despite not losing to HBK on Vince's Ultimate Order, thus making him a monster heel in the wrestling world. But we don't see the Mr. McMahon character on this show, as we don't see Brett. Obviously, he's gone now. Raw opened up with the Thorn in Your Eye Pyro and its awesome opening video. So no Brett on this night. Lots of eyes, though, were drawn to the product as a result of the screw job, wondering what happened after last night. They jumped from a 2.3 to a 3.4, so that's quite the jump. They'd sustain it, interestingly enough, even without Bret Hart. The ratings just continued to rise, even though the chant was, "We want Bret," and there's all these signs in the crowd of, "We want Bret." JR welcomes us to the show with Jim Cornette on commentary. For the first time ever, the D-Generation X theme hits the Titantron, and the fans don't know what to make of it with all the slow words like, "Are you ready?" and all those lines in the song. Everybody didn't know what to make of it because it was just there, and there's a long pause before "break it down," so they didn't know what to make of the video. It played out, though, as Rude walked down the ramp. Rude introduced the new WWF champion, and HBK walked down the ramp. As JR says on commentary, in a lot of people's view, he robbed Bret of the championship, as the crowd chanted, "Bullshit, bullshit," in Ottawa, which happens to be the capital of Canada. HBK came out with his European and WWF title belts. China held them both one over each shoulder. HBK does a celebration speech saying DX is on top of the wrestling world, that the WWF wasn't big enough for both of them. Lots of jabs to WCW and Bischoff, drawing first blood on the incident. Triple H trying to be cool in the opening segment is pretty hilarious watching it back with the shades he has on. HBK is full of himself as always given the time and situation, and says that if you thought DX was bad before, you haven't seen anything yet. Just then, Shamrock's theme hits, and he walks down in jeans with no shirt as to entrance theme, and isn't played as loud as it should be. He gets a mild pop, a mild golf clap, as the Canadian fans wanted Bret Hart or somebody a little bit higher on the card to come out, maybe like a Steve Austin. So it felt like damaged goods when Shamrock's theme hit. Shamrock really should have took a promo class before this too, because while his energy and enthusiasm were good, his lines and charisma weren't. He literally said to DX, "You are all a disgrace to the human race." It's how he said it that made it bad, though. Then he called China a woman, man, whatever you are, as that got a big pop from the crowd. Shamrock calls Rude an old man, and then HBK says, first off, this woman would knock you out any day of your life, and secondly, this man could knock you out any day of the week, and could beat you any day of the week, any day of the year. And that's when Slaughter came out and said, "Shawn, you have a match later with Shamrock, but tonight, Triple H, you have a match with Shamrock. And if DX gets involved, he will be the loser." So a decent opening segment, but it felt flat considering what we have seen just the night before in Montreal. DX would have their play with Bret Hart more next week, but for now, this is what we got the night after Montreal. Ahmed Johnson took on Mark Barrow in the opening contest. Ross and Cornette with the call again. Ahmed Johnson with a hip lock takeover and a bunch of sloppy moves like a kick that had nowhere to land. Ross called it unorthodox. He then hits the spine buster, which is one of 2 moves he can hit. And then the next, he hit the Pearl River plunge, which is the second move that he can hit. Ahmed won by DQ at 2:27 after he tried to go for his TKO down low. And I rated the match a dud. It was nothing but trash there. Then they show Butterbean in the front row, and we'll hear from him later. Taka Michinoku takes on Devin Storm in a lightweight championship quarterfinal tournament match. This is an 8-man tournament, single elimination out. Sonny introduced the wrestlers. Storm with a kick to the midsection and then a face front suplex, a pancake, while Brian Christopher on commentary laughs. Devin Storm with a leg drop when the momentum swung the other way. A moonsault to Taka Michinoku lowers his head, and Storm with a knee lift. Taka Michinoku off the rope with a spinning heel kick. Christopher came on the apron, and this allowed Taka Michinoku to hit the Michinoku driver after the distraction. Taka won at 5 minutes exactly, and then flies on to Christopher after the match. This was the WWF version of Mysterio Malenko at the time. I gave the match 2.5 stars. Goldust comes to the ring to talk to JR. JR asks if Goldust would explain his hideous remarks to Marlena and walking out on his family. Goldust comes out in a robe and a cigar in his mouth. He's painted black and it has golden letters FU for Forever Unchained. So JR asks him to explain those remarks, and Goldust just has an answer for everything. Vader came out and basically gave him shit for not tagging him in last night at the Survivor Series team and leaving him out to dry against Team Canada. So they would have a feud that would go on with Vader and Goldust. The Headbangers take on the Truth Commission, and the DOA are out there on the ring, outside on the ring. The Headbangers won at 4:48, and then the DOA and the Headbangers attacked them after the match. I gave it a star and a quarter. Hour 2 begins with Stone Cold coming out saying he proved at Survivor Series that he was back. And he said he was sitting around drinking for 3 months, and now he was tired of that, and he wants to get back to kicking ass. The Rock learned very quick on the mic as The Rock interrupted him, and you could see you could see that there was talent there, but he never really shined. It didn't shine right away, but you could see that there was something with The Rock. This is the first time referencing him as The Rock on commentary, and also calling himself as The Rock in the third person on Raw. This is the first time that really happened. So Rock talks about when he was champ being the best IC champ of all time. Stone Cold Steve Austin responds to The Rock's challenges by saying he's got a challenge for The Rock, and that was to get a better haircut. He then insults him a bit more, and he says, "You damn right, you got your shot. You don't suck because these people say you suck because Stone Cold said so." And the crowd cheered that, even though he's sort of dissing the crowd. This is the beginning of an amazing rivalry between the two, but it was a pretty good promo. You'd see how far both men would come in their promo skills a couple years later. Steve Blackman came out for an interview instead of gets into a battle with some member of Los Barisquas at ringside. The Outlaws take on Bradshaw in a 2-on-1 bunkhouse brawl. Nothing but hardcore moves in this match. Basically just the two of them kicking on Bradshaw's ass. Outlaws defeat Bradshaw at 141. It was a pretty fun 101 second spot fest, so I gave it a star and a half. They do an interview with Jeff Jarrett where he praises wrestlers and all past wrestlers and current wrestlers. He talks about why he'd be the most respected WWF champion of all time. Butterbean is then interviewed, and Mero was with Sable. He came out and played the jealous boyfriend and talked about how he had an actual fighter, and Butterbean then said Sable's a nice-looking lady, but he didn't want anything to do with her. He's married. Mero talked about how Butterbean has never beaten anyone important. Next, The Undertaker took on Kama Mustafa. A pretty decent big man match for a couple minutes. It only lasted 2:19, and I gave it no rating as it ended in a no contest. Taker chokeslammed Kama and then clotheslined him to the outside. The lights went off, and Kane's music hits, and the pyro. Bear says Kane must face you one-on-one so he can prove to all the leeches of the night, instead of creatures of the night, that he is the better man, and you must suffer the way he suffered for 20 years. Undertaker said, "I will never fight you. You are like me. You are flesh and blood, and not tonight or any other night. And Paul, you have paid for what you've done." And Bear said, "All the agony and all the agony that we caused will because of you, and it be your fault, and to the fires of hell." So Taker and Kane moved their rivalry along. Helmsley took on Shamrock then in the main event. "We want Brett" is chanted throughout by the Ottawa, Canada crowd. The referee is knocked out and Slaughter restrained Chyna, and then Shamrock made Triple H tap out to the ankle lock, but the ref didn't see it. Michaels hit Shamrock with the back of Rude's briefcase, and the match ended. They went off the air without a decision in the match. They fought to a no contest at 9:54. After the match, there was nothing as the show went off the air. Michaels, Rude, and Chyna arguing with the official. Triple H scoring a near fall on the outside of Shamrock. They end the show with a near fall, then Chyna grabs the ref out of the ring, and they fade to black. Quality rating wise, I give the show a 5.5 out of 10. It's memorable for being the Post-Montreal show, but it's also promoted new feuds like Goldust, Vader, Mero, Butterbean, Shamrock, HBK, Austin and The Rock, and so on. They had a nice hardcore match, handicap match. They had a few other matches, but when two of your matches don't go past the 2-minute mark and two of the other matches are no rating, you can't really have a high-rated Raw. Even though the Raws in the Attitude Era would get better from this point on, you can't have a very high-rated Raw with those kind of matches as a result. So 5.5 out of 10 sounds right. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying the reviews. I enjoy putting them out. This is Brett Mix See you later.